அதனால் திருமகள் கலையது ஊதி செயமாது பூமி திசை தெய்வமான பலவும் அறநெறி நல்ல நல்ல அவை நல்ல நல்ல அடியாரவர்க்கு மிகவே. This greatest being is entering my heart. Now this being is no more an androgyne. Now this being has become a male, but then there is a concept of this being sitting by his side on the bull. And this being is wearing a beautiful garland, and meditate on this garland. Also this being is wearing a special powder all over his body, and this powder is white in color and it is glittering. Concentrate on it. And while you do this, you have blessings from the goddess of wealth, from the goddess of education, and from the goddess of the earth. Everything momentarily becomes beautiful for you. மதிநுதல் மங்கையோடு வடவால் இருந்து மறையோதும் எங்கள் பரமன் நதியொடு கொன்றை மாலை முடிமேல் அணிந்து என் உளமே புகுந்த அதனால் கொதியுரு காலன்னங்கி நமனோடு தூதர் கொடுநோய்களான பலவும் அதிகுணம் நல்ல நல்ல அவை நல்ல நல்ல அடியாரவர்க்கு மிகவே. Now again concentrate on this being. This being is in meditation, facing towards north. This being is chanting some sacred words. The being has entered you into your heart. As a result of it, you find that the fear of death is disappearing within you. Diseases of different kinds do not come near you. It is all because that this being has entered your heart.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our second astrology webinar, or Time Your Success. Last time we spoke to you a couple weeks ago about how there were different types of time periods and different ways in which how you take action and when you take action can deeply impact the outcome of that action. And what we want to help you to do is time your success in a way that you know what to do when, so that the most profitable outcome can be yours. And how do you do that? I'm here with my guest astrologer and Pillai Center teacher and coach, Lalita Donatella, and she's going to help us understand the science behind what occurs to us from the perspective of what we see as the outcome in our life, the circumstances in our life. And last time we spoke about basically 3 different pathways, I would say, of how the planets can impact us. One is our blueprint that we're born with. So when we are born, we come into the world with a certain set of planets that are kind of imprinted upon us, and then that carries through our entire lifetime. Then we go through periods which we call major or minor periods in astrology and Vedic astrology, dasa, bhukti, where we move through different time periods, and then that particular planet and subplanet impact us more, in some cases, than any other planet that there is. And then there's transits. The planets are constantly moving, and we are impacted based on where they're moving into different signs, and how we get impacted is back to our chart number 1, which is our blueprint, and how these planets are imprinted upon us at birth. So don't get too confused about these different the kind of ways in which our life can be impacted. What we're going to do today is go through some symptoms, right? Like give some examples of how where you might be able to identify with some circumstances and think, oh, maybe that's impacting me. Maybe I'm going through certain periods of time where certain planets are impacting you. Of course, what we really want you to do is get an astrology reading so that you know for sure and you can really understand. But for example, I have a friend who everything was just loss for her. She lost her home. Her and her husband of 25 years broke up. She lost her mother. Her mother passed away. Literally left her home and her children with the separation. Her business was then also destroyed because she had been in business with her husband. And she came to me and she was like, what is going on? Everything is going wrong. And so we ran her chart, and it ends up she was in 7 years of Saturn. And so that's another way in which we can see, the planets affecting us. So during this period, just really nothing was working out for her. So I'm going to turn it over to Lalita to tell us, to help us understand a bit more about, are there certain planets or time periods that inflict or create certain challenges, or is it really individually based?
That's a great question. Hello, everyone. And yes, so there are some periods that for everyone would be a little different, a little difficult, but they don't have to be tragic. But for some people, they become really serious, depending on their ascendant, depending on where the planets are placed. So what we like to do is to check the birth chart and make sure that these periods called dasha and bhukti, or dasa and bhukti, or under that, there are other names, but it means a major period of a planet that becomes very active in your consciousness, and a sub-period that sometimes it's even more influential than the major planet, or at least the interaction with the major period planet can be really impactful in your life and really change almost everything, the way you feel, the way you think, and events will follow, right? So the rishis, the maharishis, for example, Parashara, told us that some periods will give certain results. And they, for example, said in the dasha of Saturn, with the sub-period of bhukti, these things will happen. And that is for everyone, right? But those 2 planets, for some ascendants, are extremely good. So those people actually will benefit from Saturn, but there are some general tendencies. Right? So same with other planets. So if you're in the major period of Mars, in some sub-periods, you will have certain experiences. And if you're in Mars, Saturn, so that will not be so exciting because Mars and Saturn are enemies. Of course, Mars can benefit from Saturn. It becomes exalted. So nothing is really black and white. And there's even another Siddha I like to mention, and his name is Pulipani, and I'm particularly devoted to him because he was also the student of Bogar. And Dr. Pillai always talks about Bogar, how, even he became Einstein in this life, in his more recent incarnation. So Pulipani said, during these periods, these things will happen. Venus, Mercury, or, for example, one of my students is in Jupiter, Venus. Everything he ever wanted is happening to him. And it's getting only bigger and bigger. And Pulipani said, during Jupiter and Venus, you will be receiving gifts from the government, gifts from the king, all these things. And that's what's happening at his workplace. He's being promoted, he's being given huge responsibilities and a lot more money. So these things keep happening, definitely during. But what if it's not good, right? What if it's your Sadesati, 7.5 years of Saturn? It does not have to be the end of the world. And that is why we have Vedic astrology. So when you connect with Saturn, or you do a fire ritual to Saturn, but you need to know it, right? If you don't know it, then you're just suffering. That's why I love Vedic astrology, because it solves so many issues. And there are so many easy remedies, like just having a little yantra. Is the yantra of the 9 planets. Just offering some water and a lamp to this, or even a raisin to the planets. Now you're connecting with the planets and they're blessing you. So this is not knowledge you can find everywhere. Only those who have studied this system, which is a lifesaver. It's really a gift from the rishis to help us. I believe it was revealed in texts only because they knew that Kali Yuga was coming. So Bogar told Pulipani, make sure you do this and talk about the planets and also write about it. Mm-hmm. So that's amazing how they had our back and they really protected us all the way, right? The way that Pillai does now, that he prays for us.
Right. And that's really good point about what to do. So we get that question a lot as well, which is, okay, now that maybe you've unraveled that you're having some challenges and you think it may have to do with planets, Lalita gave a perfect example of something that you can do, which is to have a yantra in the course that we're doing that's coming up in April. In a couple of weeks, it starts. Lalita will be hosting sessions every month, which help you understand what transits are happening in the coming month and how it could be impacting you. So that's really helping you to know what the, kind of your cosmic blueprint over the next at least 3 months, because we're beginning in the middle of April and we're going to go from 3 months forward. Mm-hmm. And then she'll be giving some great, at-home practices to do. It's not a course in terms of you're not going to be learning a lot or having to study. It's just
not knowing. Right. It's not needed to learn everything.
Right. So Lalita's going to have a great time showing us more about what to just be aware of, like transits that are happening. Okay, the Jupiter transit's happening in April. That's a huge transit. Sun moving into Aries is big.
So many planets. Everything is going to change in April, for good or worse. The only negative thing in April, maybe I haven't mentioned it, I didn't the last time, we have a huge eclipse. So total solar eclipse has a major impact on our lives, but not so much if we know about it and we know what to do. So that is information you receive in the course. The eclipse is on the 20th, and for everyone, there are certain guidelines, but according to your birth chart, if the sun is not a good planet for you, for example, for Capricorn ascendant, the sun is the 8th lord, what we call the ruler of the 8th house, which can be difficult. Maybe there are problems with the father or other situations at work, but for that reason, Capricorns are very wise and they don't act too proud. They don't antagonize people. They are very dutiful and righteous. So I like that. In general, that's what can happen.
Great. That's really good. well, I know we want to get into a little bit of the positive aspects as well. And then if we have time, maybe just a kind of a brief of what we can be looking forward to in April.
Definitely. And we have already Venus in Taurus, which is one of the best placements for Venus. And Taurus is the natural second house of wealth, finances, family. So having the planet of love, beauty, creativity, and wealth is a main karaka. He's a male. He's a main karaka of wealth. So that means a main representative of wealth and everything, jewelry, beauty, artwork, really like the fine arts, etc. So in Taurus, it's double blessings. So definitely Venus gives great results. So I will be explaining how to use the energy of Venus. So Venus will move into Gemini, not at the end of this month, but even for that, there are so many things you can do to benefit, and I will explain that, definitely. So after Venus, we have, on the 14th, we have the sun, right? The soul, the life giver going into Aries, which is absolutely the best placement for Aries. And that's why every year, Dr. Pillai goes online, goes live and tells us, oh, this is the time for your goals. Even in seminars, I remember him talking a lot about the sun and all the blessings you can get during this period if you know what to do, how to pray to the sun, or how to ask for a favor, or how to use the energy. Sometimes you don't even need to talk to the planets, because that's the job of Vedic astrologers or rishis or gurus, etc. But you can just go and take action on those things you want, and that's very important.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have, after that, we have the eclipse on the 20th. So the sun will be in this conjunction in 4. Conjunction means it's an alignment, 4 planets together will be in Aries, including Rahu, and that will cause the eclipse. So that's the axis Rahu Ketu, right? Aries Libra. So one second. And during the eclipse, so there will be certain times when you don't want to do anything new. The next day, not only will Jupiter move into Aries and join Rahu, the Sun, and Mercury, but also Mercury will go retrograde. So this is a huge month for changes and things, and with some simple minimal remedies, you can benefit hugely. Absolutely.
Super. That's great. Thank you. I know that Dr. Pillai talks a lot about Sun moving into Aries and how that begins what he calls the astrological new year. So this is a very significant time for new beginnings, for the creative process. And one thing he does say to do for everybody out there, when the sun moves into Aries, to chant the Gayatri mantra or play the Gayatri mantra. So please note that down as something you can do as a remedy, and also to empower you more and bring the sun more into your energy, since he's exalted in Aries. So that would be a perfect thing to do between April 14th through 30 days. I think it's May 14th, May 13th, where the sun then moves into Taurus. So we got a little overview of some transits that are happening in April. Lalita, did you want to go into any other transits for April?
Primarily, this is it. So it's pretty big. Venus will move in May. Then Mercury will be, sorry, I have a terrible tickle in this week. And then we have Mercury being retrograde until the 14th of May. And so this whole spring will be, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, it's a different season, I know. In the Southern Hemisphere, it will be really life-changing for everyone. And especially when the slower planets like Jupiter or Saturn move, everything changes. It's really important. And what I find now that it's a great time, we have Saturn in its own sign, Jupiter in its own sign, Venus in its own sign. It's fantastic, right? So it's a very good time to take action and start, for example, this course. I'm not biased. It's literally the best time. And also Mercury is in the first house of taking action. So even for communication, can be a little aggressive, but it's really powerful for your work, for taking action and speaking up when it's time, right? Having the courage to speak up and also acting on your goals. You know, we all have dreams, but if we don't do anything, they will not be fulfilled. So we need to do something. We have been given the free will, you know, the divine made us in his and her own image, but if we don't do something, we need to help ourselves. So take action, you know, be protected, do the remedies, so you can only have good things from the planets.
Right.
Not malevolent. They want to just do their job, which is bringing the results of our thoughts, of our karma. Karma is a mindset that's been with you for lifetimes, and actions that have brought decisions, fears, or even positive outcomes. Well, for example, Dr. Pillai says, Bill Gates has always been very, very rich because he did, for 68 lifetimes, he always worshipped Goddess Lakshmi. It's that simple, right? So it's hard for us to see these dimensions of time and space. They don't really make sense. But the rishis, they couldn't be wrong. They were right about everything else, right? So.
Right. That's right. So what we're understanding right now, kind of where the third aspect that I mentioned early on, which is the transits that are happening in general, right? Like, so we got a little overview of the transits that are happening in April and how in general, it seems like a really good time to take action, right? We're being supported by the planets.
Yes, everything is screaming, take action, because Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is the #1 planet of action and courage, and also to be cautious, because person who has courage also has the courage to take care, you know, and protect and defend, etc. So protect your life, you know, do something great for your goals, for your families, and for your well-being also, because in the first house, you're very youthful, you know, it's Aries, it's the initiator. And also it's a very youthful sign that really it speaks very clearly of new beginnings, a fresh start for everyone, especially with the sun entering into Aries. So Mars, if that was the question, Mars now is in Gemini, so that's a lot of action towards your goals, you know, get your bio together, send your proposals, do something new and take care. And Saturn is in Mula Trikona, which means the best of the two signs he rules. And it's in Aquarius. So there's a lot of goodness right now that we take advantage of. Otherwise, you know, Dr. Pillai says this is a great time for your relationship to meet someone. If you stay at home, nothing will happen. You won't meet anyone.
Right.
So do something new. Yeah.
Super. So we have the overview, the cosmic imprint of what's happening this coming month. So folks, it's all looking bright in terms of these transits that are happening. And of course, this is general. And as I mentioned in the beginning, there's the general transits, but then there's also the two parts that are just about you specifically. And that's your blueprint, your astrology chart at the time of birth, which will help dictate how these transits personally impact you. And then there's the major minor periods, or dasa, bhukti, and Vedic astrology that we call it. And we have a free report for you to find out which major minor periods of time are happening for you right now and what you can do about it. So the link is below this video. And I also saw that our support person in YouTube put it in the chat. So that is something you want to, the first step, if you're not ready to pay for an astrology reading or go, into the more specifics of it, at least get your free report so that you can begin to know what these major and minor periods are for you right now and what you can do about it. So that would be step one. And an example, we'll kind of go into some examples of like how these periods can impact you. For example, when I moved into Sun, I mentioned this briefly last time that I had lost weight, but also what had happened is I started studying with Dr. Pillai. Dr. Bhaskaran Pillai, his name literally means sun. I got a new job, making more money. I bought a house. I started a relationship. Basically every area of my life blossomed, from relationships, spirituality, career, money, home, right? Like everything just started happening inside of this period. So for me, the sun period was just a very positive and supported by the planet. So tell us a little bit more, Lalita, about this phenomena. Like, so we can have the opposite end of the spectrum where, loss and everything is going wrong. And then the other side, which is the planets are just pushing you forward into success. And you mentioned a little bit about your client, but help folks understand if things are just miraculously starting to unfold and blossom for them, that also is planet.
Yes. So what you said is totally correct. Like a planet will activate all your good fortune, your happiness, your self-confidence in the case of the sun. During my Jupiter period, Guru, Jupiter, right? Actually, all my planets are somewhat associated with Jupiter, everything. So during the Jupiter period, I met Dr. Pillai. Not only did I meet him, but I had been praying since 1993. I remember when I began to study with a guru like Paramahansa Yogananda, and I wanted a Siddha, and I asked him purposely, please send me a Siddha master. And it seemed very far-fetched. I knew they were secluded, they were not around. So it seemed like an impossible dream. But during the Jupiter period, I met this great, amazing guru, spiritual teacher, Dr. Pillai, and then he turned out to be exactly what I've been praying for. 2 years later, I found out he was a Siddha. So how perfect is that, right? During the Jupiter period, also other things. I got my yoga teacher certification. I became a Reiki master. I started to study Vedic astrology, properly. And I became a professional Vedic astrologer. I mean, this is Jupiter, right? Jupiter is associated with spirituality, religion, philosophy, wealth, and yes, so that was not very abundant, but I didn't do anything to try, and I just, went with the flow. And but then I started my business during that period, and then I also wrote a book, about certain spiritual teachings that had touched my life, especially Dr. Pillai's. 99% my book is about his teachings. So a lot of things, important things in my life began during Jupiter period, definitely. And that's another way, so how we can explain events. But the things associated with the planets don't need to happen the way that you want. For example, you have the period of Saturn, Saturn can do certain things to you, and you can prevent, and you can make different decisions. So we have a destination, as we said in the other call. We have a destination, but that doesn't mean we have to go. We should be like Dr. Pillai. He has a ticket to go to Los Angeles. That doesn't mean he's going.
No, it does not.
He may decide last minute, no, I'm not even taking the car to the airport. I'm not going. Right?
Yeah.
So that's very important to know that there's no definite destiny. There are probabilities. Sometimes it's destined because if we don't interfere, that's it.
And that's a good point because, earlier you mentioned how the planets are playing out our thoughts, playing out our karmas, right? So I like to think of it as, we come into this life with karmas that we have to learn. To me, it's not like a good or bad thing. It's that we came into this lifetime in order to learn certain lessons or understand certain things that that help us to grow and evolve. And the end result is that we're evolving lifetime after lifetime to become better, right? To get closer to understanding our God self. And that the planets are agents of our karma, right? Like they're implementing it based on what we've experienced in a past life, what we want to experience now, what we're deciding. And that Dr. Pillai also says that free will, a couple weeks ago, he told me free will is about 51% and karma is 49%. So you always have the ability to override, which brings us to remedies, right? So if these planets are agents of our karma, they're implementing these lessons that we have to learn, then we also can have remedies that offset some of that. And tell us a little bit about what type of remedies that you might be doing. And I'll tell you, and while you're thinking about that, I'll tell our folks at home too. That
myself.
Or in general, like what types of remedies are out there that
there's so much that it's almost impossible not to benefit. There are small levels, as I showed you, like a little statue. I always have all my small statues with me. I don't go anywhere without Ganesha.
And the yantra.
The yantra is with me, and I have also the statues of the planets because I felt I needed that higher level of worship, also connecting with the planets. To benefit my clients or myself, of course, family. So there is a lot we can do, small and big. Big would be a fire ritual done for you by proxy. That's life-changing. Dr. Pillai said up to 20% benefits, and that's huge because it really turns a situation around and brings you more good luck. So it's hard for us to imagine how remedies done for us in a different place. It's because we're skeptics and without. So if I ritual done for you in India, how does it affect you? Well, if you just remember that everything is so interconnected in the cosmos, so of course, right, the moon is connected with the ocean rises, has no control on rising, and the moon has more control. I had a dream, I don't know if it's relevant, but I had this dream the other day that I was from the sun and I was learning in this life to communicate to people of the moon. So I was learning the moon language. So the planets come to you in so many different ways. It can be a dream, it can be a thought, it can be a decision. For example, in Jupiter period, I quit the PR. I had a nice job. I was an executive and I quit and I thought, I only want to teach yoga. That idea came during the Jupiter period. So there's something important about it. And so other remedies can be reciting a mantra. That's very, very important. Mantra means that thing that protects your mind. So that device that protects your consciousness, because, we have all these thoughts, then we get lost. Our consciousness is affected. So we want to raise our consciousness by connecting with the divine being and knowing which one is going to help you. So the archetypes are very, very important. So if I can mention them very quickly, the sun would be Shiva and the moon would be Parvati, goddess Parvati, so the consort of Shiva. And then we have Mars. There are all these archetypes, right? Like Muruga, Hanuman, even Narasimha. And then we have Mercury, Lord Vishnu, and we have Jupiter, Shiva. Some people associate also Vishnu with Jupiter because he's so generous. It gives so much wealth. It can bring a lot of spiritual and material wealth. So it's the 200% planet, 100% life planet. And then we have Venus, goddess Lakshmi and Varahi and etc. And then we have Mahalakshmi, and then we have Saturn, so Shiva certainly, and Hanuman, both of them. And then we have Rahu and Ketu, the invisible lunar nodes that act very, very strongly in our lives. So they may be invisible, but they have a major effect on the planets. Look, they can darken the luminaries, right? cause the eclipses. And then they have a strong impact. In fact, during the dasha and bhukti of these nodes, we will notice some changes, desirable or undesirable, depending on what we do. If we use them correctly and we do the remedies, then we can benefit a lot.
Right. Fantastic. Thank you for that.
Oh, sorry. One more thing. Maybe it's important. Just I had to remember. So that person who is now in Jupiter Venus used to be in Jupiter Ketu. And I told him, look, Ketu is sitting in this house. It will cause you many problems unless you're very, very cautious and you're alert. He forgot all about what I said. And everything. Did you pray to Ganesha? Did you do this? Did you do a puja? Did you say the mantra? No, I forgot. And so he became very detached, very kind of lethargic. He missed calls with me. He forgot to say the mantra. Finally, I told him, okay, you need fire rituals. And he was very dutiful. He went and got the fire rituals and things got better, definitely.
Fantastic. What a great example, because we are so influenced by the planets. Like I noticed, I told you I moved into Rahu last year, and I noticed all my thinking changed so much. Just before that, I was in Mars, super focused, like action-oriented, focused. And now I'm in Rahu, which takes on, from what I understand, the planets that are nearby in its house. So for me, it's Sun and Jupiter. So I'm getting more of those kind of influences, which has just been a really interesting year to watch how different I've become. So I love, once you become aware and you can start observing and then implementing these rituals, it becomes less that you're inside of the stream, just being taken down and tumbled around, and more of observing, oh, I'm having thoughts that are like this now. What should I do with those? I'm taking action or not taking action like this now. What should I do with it? And that's where consulting, an astrologer and doing the remedies are so pivotal, at least have been for me. I mean, if I didn't have these tools, it would just be, kind of continuing down the path of letting things just happen and not taking control, and not taking control in that sense of like controlling, but more of knowing, being aware.
Knowledge is very important. Yes. So Rahu, there are hundreds of remedies, right? And you know why you're having these thoughts or not,
right?
That gives you empowerment. So it's very important to know. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm so grateful for this technology, right? Like this science.
Forever. Yes. Forever grateful. Absolutely.
From Babaji, from the astrologers.
So there are mantras that we can recite, and there's one that's particularly short. It's only 3 minutes. We will have a recording where you can learn to pray to the planets at home. So even if you have no time at all and you're getting ready to go to work, you can recite a mantra in your mind. So
perfect. Yeah. That'll be wonderful. We'll have that. We'll be using that in the program coming up. So someone asked about when the program starts. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So why don't I give a quick overview of the program now, and then folks post your questions. Please also, we do have the free report that you are invited to take part in. So this is the program Time Your Success, and it begins in April. We are beginning it in the Vedic New Year, when the sun moves in to Aries, because as we said, it is the perfect time for you to take action, right? It is the perfect timing. And Dr. Pillai, he'll be going live next weekend on YouTube to talk more about this pivotal time period with the various astrological transits happening. So how the program works is it'll be completely personalized to you. We've been talking a bit about the general transits that are coming up, and also that we each have our personalized blueprint. And what we'll do is first there will be a consultation with your astrologer. That has to happen in order for you to understand what planets are impacting you the most. Are they good? Are they bad? Are they neutral? And what major and minor planets are influencing you right now? Those two things that we mentioned today. Your personal blueprint, you'll understand good, bad, and neutral planets, what to do with them, and then also what are those major and minor periods that are happening for you at this moment. So when Lalita mentioned, the first client was in Jupiter K2, that the Jupiter was the major, K2 was the minor, and then that person moved into Jupiter Venus. So Jupiter was still the major, and then Venus was the minor. That is what we mean by major and minor planetary influence. And you all have them. We all have them. So in level 1, you'll have a 30-minute consultation, and in level 2, level 2 and 3, you'll have a 1-hour consultation. You go a little bit more in depth on the analysis of your birth chart and what to do and with where your planets are in your chart and how they're impacting you specifically in the areas that are important to us: our health, our wealth, our relationships, our career, spirituality, etc. Then we'll have live group planetary transit sessions. These will be with Lalita. So she gave us a brief overview of some transits that are happening in April. She'll go into more depth with that in the class. And again, you don't have to study anything. It is just there for you to know, become aware, and she'll give you some light homework, which is to listen to the 9-planet chant every day, and that is to mitigate any negative influences of the planet. This is a beautiful meditation and chant that Dr. Pillai created many years ago to kind of mitigate the issues that the planets can bestow upon us. So that's the planetary session. And then we have live group astro coaching also with Lalita. And this is where she'll dive into the specifics of what you do with each planet, meaning which one is good, bad, and neutral, and what days of the week and times of the day you can be doing certain activities. That will be provided to you in your astrology reading, and she will help you to implement that. So for example, if there's Mars, for example, let's say Mars is a really positive planet for you. So you'll want to know when Mars is most active. It's going to be a Tuesday. It's also, there will be Mars horas or hours throughout the day. Will help you understand where to find those. And in your reading, and then with the support of Lalita, you'll know what are good actions to take and actions you should not take during Mars period, for example. And then that'll apply to every planet. So you'll kind of get this understanding in this chart. Really, you'll have a report that helps you to see exactly what to do for each planet, what's good actions and bad actions to take for each planet. So that's a really important part of this. The group astro coaching is really important, and your report of knowing how to see what to do during each period of the day and the week. And then we talked about remedies, right? So there'll be 9-planet monthly group fire labs for you. There'll be daily 9-planet pujas, offerings to the planets. These are all helping to offset these negative influences, things that make you lethargic or non-active, unaware. And then in I think it's group 3, level 3, there's individual fire labs. Those are the most powerful because they're all about just you one-on-one with the planets and the priest. So these are the most effective types of rituals to participate in. And then we talked about the 9-planet yantra. You will receive one of these. So each level has different services and products in them. So level 1, you'll have your 30-minute personal consultation, and you'll have one live group astro coaching session. Level 2, you will have 1 hour personal consultation with a Vedic astrologer. You'll have the monthly live group. not sure if that's monthly. I think it's just one live group astro coaching session. And then you'll have 3 monthly group planetary transit sessions. You'll have group monthly fire labs, and then 90 days of daily pujas. In level 3, you're going to receive your 1-hour consultation, all of what we just mentioned, plus 2 personalized planet fire labs. That means your astrologer will tell you which planets you should be having performing these rituals to. So that's a prescription just for you. And then you'll also receive the 9-planet yantra. And these is much more personalized. These fire rituals are more costly, as well as the yantra. So you'll see the price is quite a bit different for that level 3, but you will get more personal services. So that is all about the program. Now we'll take some questions, general questions about the program, about what Lalita taught and mentioned today. So Rara asked, when does the course officially start? We officially start on the New Year weekend, which is April 15th. However, I believe our first group session is April 22nd. So we'll have our first group session April 22nd. Once you enroll, we will begin helping you to schedule your astrology session and get started in that way. Let's see if there are any other questions. Okay. Samo says, one tendency I noticed about myself is a tendency to overspend my budget, even though my money inflow is high. Any advice on budgeting from a Vedic standpoint? What could be the cause of that, Lalita?
Maybe Mercury in a certain place, because Mercury rules cash money. And for some people, Mercury is a difficult planet. For example, when Mercury was transiting in Pisces, which makes Mercury very weak, my Mercury is okay, but on that time, I was having lots of glitches on my computer. I was frustrated a lot because I had to work with my team to try to fix things. And so I noticed definitely a change, but I know it doesn't, the connection with money, but it was affecting my business, definitely, and my work time. So I was not focused with other goals. So Mercury can do that. Also the moon, right? The moon, there are some days where really people should be advised, do not take action, don't buy something on impulse. Otherwise you won't like it or something will happen. So any planet can do that, but typically the planets that we are strongly associated with wealth will be Venus, Mercury, Moon, also Jupiter. But all the planets can give a lot of wealth, so it doesn't matter. For some people, Mars will be the planet.
Right.
The Mars period was fabulous, on my Moon period even better. I had all this luxury, and then actually when Mars started in some bhuktis, I struggled a little. I had to change my nice lifestyle, and I had to, I left my parents' apartment. They had a nice apartment for me in Rome, and then they decided to sell it. And then I had to go and rent something. I was very upset. But it can happen. There are ups and downs, right? Even during one full dasha, which is a major period, every planet rules a certain amount of years. For Jupiter would be 16, Saturn is 19, Venus 20, etc., and Mercury 19, etc.
Yeah. And there's some shorter ones too, right? So we have I think Mars is 7 years, and
Sun is shorter. Also Moon, I don't remember exactly, I think 10. Anyway, so the slower planets sometimes, but Venus is the longest, and Venus is fast. Most assigned really before the end of the month. So 20-25 days can be fast. So it's a long story, but you will be helped, step by step, according to your planets and where they're placed, etc., and also what periods are activated right now.
Yeah,
that's incredible protection. Some people don't know why they're being hit so hard, in some situations and not in others.
Right, exactly. Like I said, it's just a godsend to know that there's reason behind what you're thinking, what you're, how you're acting things out. And so, Samuel, while we're not entirely sure exactly how to answer your question, we'd have to look at your chart. At least we would have to know what's going on with the planets. And
you'll tell me in the program. Yeah, definitely. If you want to join, I recommend it. I know Samuel, yes, you're in many programs. If you're
he's in a lot.
Yes. There is another client, for example, who is well-to-do. She's fine. She has enough money and everything, but she's so attracted to the destructive relationships. She will choose, like, there's a nice-looking guy who has wealth, treat her very nicely, and there is another one who is very devious, liar, and causes her a lot of troubles, and then she gets very, very attached in these relationships. And that is a planet, actually a couple of planets. So with some guidance and remedies and definitely coaching, she has realized that pattern. So now she's staying away from certain situations that could cause another relationship like that.
That's so incredible. I mean, the combination of astrology with coaching to me is just pure magic, right? Like to not only just be coached based on like what is going on in your life and how you're feeling, but to know that there's a planet behind that, and to, the remedies that support it. It's so unusual for us to, for in general, the world. I've never really heard much around.
There's very little other than that. I'm not going to be killed by other astrologers, but our system is so precise, and it has a lot of elements that have disappeared from other systems because they've been modernized. For example, we identify ourselves with the season when we were born. I mean, that's really not helpful if you think, okay, I am born in January, so I'm a Capricorn, but then I don't even have a planet in Capricorn. I like to use this example a lot because, yes, what exactly are you Capricorn for, right? Or in which situations are you? Well, it turns out to be a house connected with money and career. So that's a different story. And then it really doesn't work because it's really the sun sign. And the sun rules totally different things, like, okay, career, your father, your self-confidence, your health, all those things. And so it makes no sense. And 10% of chances is that the sun sign will be the one that I'm a Taurus, or, people say I am a Sagittarius. In which system? Because in modern astrology, unless you dive deeper, I bet they do have some methods of prediction, but you cannot know anything about yourself. Right. Because maybe the sun is in Sagittarius, and even so the sun is not everything. It's not the ascendant, and it's not the moon. The moon is the mind, so the moon is very important.
Right. Yeah. A little difference, just so folks understand, like a little bit difference in terms of how Vedic astrology looks at astrology versus Western astrology, and how we have kind of.
Yeah, and I don't want to go on and on because I don't want to confuse, anyone, but if you know that the planets are in a certain place, everything changes. For example, in Western astrology, you may think that the planets are in a certain place, but everything has moved 23 degrees. So how do you know that Jupiter is in Aries and not in Pisces? You can't, right? So for example, if we look at the sky, either with an app or with a telescope, or even where the constellations are, you see the planets exactly as where they're supposed to be in Vedic astrology. So we do a calculation. Jupiter is in Pisces. In Western astrology, they're already telling us that Jupiter has moved into Aries. Yeah. That is a hugely different sign with different inclinations and colors and etc. So how do you manage that? I've always had this question and I have a lot of friends who are Western astrologers, so I'm not bad-mouthing them, but I always wonder, how do you manage? And they have other ways that they think, okay, will work. But when they tell me on Thanksgiving Day, the moon is going to be in Leo, but it's actually in Cancer, they're absolutely opposites. Absolutely different motivations. feelings, etc. So that is a huge issue for me. I could not reconcile, and that's why I dropped to Western astrology. So I love Vedic astrology because it really works, and it's not simple because nothing again is black and white, but it can save your life. It can really give you more money. It can help you choose a better relationship. It can help your children. So many times my children were supposed to get in trouble, and I helped them by knowing what was going to happen. Like, for example, my son was in a Rahu period. So sometimes he was a musician. He wasn't cautious. And one day I had this intuition, no, he needs a fire ritual for Ketu. And Ketu is the planet that rules Sunday with the sun. So both of them, we honor them on a Sunday. And on Sunday, he went to play in Brooklyn with a band, with his band, and a huge 75-pound, according to the owner, who didn't want to get in trouble, fell on my son's head. It could have killed him. So fortunately, they had performed a fire ritual to Ketu. So I feel that Ganesha and Ketu saved him from a lot of trouble. He only had a little neck pain. How do you explain that? I do believe in miracles, and the planets can help us receive those miracles.
Wow, fantastic. That's a great story. So there is a question, and it is, which planet will Goddess Saraswati help to strengthen? You had mentioned the archetypes before. Is there one for Saraswati?
So we honor Saraswati on Friday, sometimes on Wednesdays, because she's also the planet, the goddess of wisdom and intellect. So she makes us smarter. But wisdom is also Jupiter. So I don't have a specific day for her. In different traditions, so they tell me different days. So, but you can pray to the goddess, to all goddesses on Friday. And you can pray. Actually, Dr. Pillai gave us some guidelines also on a Monday when you can honor Goddess Saraswati, form of her.
Super. Thank you.
So anytime though, I pray to her a lot. Because
there's no time that's a bad time to honor Saraswati.
Yeah.
So any other questions, folks? Otherwise, we will wrap it up. We are grateful for Lalit to be here today, and grateful for all of you contributing your energy and being here and learning about astrology. It's really important that we understand and share this information so that people don't feel in the dark. So this, ways for you to just to begin to, first step is just learning that there are planets that are directing energy towards us and having us create certain thoughts and certain actions and unfold events in our lives. And Dr. Pillai talks about his own experiences that we talked about on the last session of, him going through Saturn, and he didn't believe his uncle or cousin, whoever it was, who said, you're going to have a bad period. And he's like, no, that's ridiculous. And then he went through a really bad period in Saturn. That's when that's when he was like, oh, this is a real thing. I have to pay attention. Then he started learning Vedic astrology, and it's kind of influenced and really colored how he teaches ever since. And he, every day almost, he talks about planets. He talks about the influence. He talks about how it's impacting us. And so for us to not understand or not even acknowledge that this exists is bypassing his core teachings. So let us at least acknowledge and be aware that there are planets influencing us every moment of the day. And then the next step is to understand how it's about you. So get an astrology reading, get your free astrology report. First step, get the free astrology report. And then if you'd like to join our program, Time Your Success program, there's 3 different levels, starting with a $59 option, which is the lowest possible price you will get for a half-hour reading plus the live group session. And we've packaged these offers so that they are less price than if you purchase them individually. So that's why we put it all together and made it easier for you. And then doing it together as a group as we begin during this really powerful time for new beginnings when the sun moves into Aries. So this program starting April 15th and then going for 3 months. So we'll be together for 3 months. It'll be a bit of a small group, so you'll be able to ask questions and really understand the transits, understand your astrology report, understand how to use each time period of the day, each hour of the day, each day of the week to the best of your ability so that you are being the most fruitful that you possibly can. So it doesn't look like there's any other questions. So great job, Alita. Thank you so much for being here.
Affordable, really. I was surprised by the pricing because it's really affordable, especially level 1, right?
Very affordable. We have really, knowing that, people are also not everyone's in the best financial state at the moment. We've been keeping our prices the absolute lowest we can. As a gift from Dr. Pillai for us to do that. And of course, we have our own expenses, so we do have to charge you something, unfortunately. If we could give it all for free, we would. But yes.
Right? There's a karmic exchange. So sacrifice is everything. So money will be the sacrifice. So it's not you. The sacrifice is not you. So
yeah,
money becomes a form of sacrifice because you have to work for it, right? Sometimes very hard, right?
Exactly. Very good point. There is that exchange, that karmic exchange that is involved. So we hope to see you in the program. If you have any questions, just post them below or write to office@pillaicenter.com, and we will get back to you just as soon as we can. And we look forward to seeing you in the course. Again, it's not a program in terms of you having to learn things week after week. We were just going to help you understand how the planets are working, understand how your planets are working, and how you can then start becoming more aware and implementing that in your life so that you see better results. It's about implementation to see better results. You don't have to learn a lot of things. You don't have to, do a lot of homework. We're going to support you during these 3 months to help you really see your own planets and your productivity and become aware and learn how to time your activities so that your success is more aligned and more easy for you. So we will see you next time. We send out lots of love and gratitude to all of our friends out there. And again, thank you, Lalita. And we'll see you all soon. Namaste.
Thank you, everyone. Bye. Thank you, Lakshmi. Bye.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Nang has a blue throat. ஒன்றை நதி சூடி வந்து என் உளமே புகுந்த அதனால் கோளரி உழுவையோடு கொலையானை கேள் கொடுநாகமுடு கரடி ஆலரி நல்ல நல்ல அவை நல்ல நல்ல அடியாரவர்க்கு மிகவே. This being is wearing a special undergarment, and then concentrate also on the flower arrangements in the hair. And this being is entering your heart